Like many of you, we battled depression during life's ups and downs.
Music has always been the one thing that we could rely on to get us through the tough times that we all face.
Follow us on our journey as we discuss the healing power of music,
Interview bands,
break down genres,
review band biographies,
and more.
This is the When Words Fail
Music Speaks podcast
with Blake Mosley
and James Cox. Rosalie.
Hey, man.
Come on, dude. You're dancing.
I'm dancing. I love that intro.
Yeah, me
Doc
too.
Brass, everyone.
Doc Brass is a man.
Thank you so much for that. I dance every time.
I actually spent an hour talking with him last night.
Really?
And it did not feel like an hour. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you why. Okay, so for anybody who doesn't know Doc Brass, he's a finger drummer, and he did our lovely interview that Rosalie dances to all the time, and it's great. But he came out with a coloring book, okay? And so
you're telling me about that.
Yeah, so this is the coloring book, y'all. Okay, if y'all are on YouTube, you can see it. Okay.
Yeah.
And this was a wonderful comic book / coloring book. It's about him defeating bullies. You know, that picks some people. You know, so this is a really great item. Everybody go to I think it's Doc Brass at big. Let me go to his.
That's really cool. We should have mentioned that too in our comic book episode that we did. Months back.
But Doc Brass like just released this, so I had no idea that he was doing it. But
well, shame on him. He should have said something.
Yeah, but everybody go to Doc Brass. That's DOK Brass.bigcartel.com. Head on over to merchandise section and buy this book. And also you'll get stickers like some stickers with it too.
Cool.
But I do have a question for you, Mr. Brosley.
Ask away.
Okay, so you've seen the cartoon Peanuts, right, with the Charlie Brown and everything.
Of course.
Right.
Yes.
Who was the guy that played piano? That looked like that. I don't think it was Linus.
Wasn't Linus?
He was the one with the towel, right? With the dirty towel.
Yeah, with the towel. Oh my gosh,
dude, that's been bothering me forever.
I know, it's killing me. It's killing me.
But Doc Brass watches that show because this is the exact replica of that character from the show. But here he's playing on his MC. I think it's MC keyboard, huh?
Schroeder. That's his name. So yep, Schroeder.
That's what Schroeder looks like, but this is in the form of Doc Brass.
So cool.
Yeah, so everybody pick it up. It's a great book. You'll love it. Also, we interviewed Leland Sklar last week, and that's going to go up sometime soon. But he has a book called Everybody Loves Me, okay? But
and how can you not?
How can you? We've worked with some amazing musicians over the years.
We have, yeah.
But it's called Everybody Loves Me. So everybody go to LelandScalarsBeard.com. Because it's a fantastic beard. You know, how can you not?
Yeah, you're not lying.
For that, yeah. But okay, so be forewarned that every picture in the book is some pictures of people flipping them off. I'm serious. He's got so many musicians and actors and just random people that, hey, flick me off. I don't take a picture of it. Click.
Okay.
And he's been doing that for years. So yes,
we talked to Scott Page. Was he the one that told us about that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, that's how I know to look for the book. And I don't know what kind of material the cover is, but it's like a mesh plush cover. It's not like anything else.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
So, yeah. So
very cool.
How was your weekend?
It was good, man. It was relaxing and music filled. And my wife and we plan on playing later on this year with a friend of ours from church. We're kind of starting like a little cover, like an acoustic kind of cover band thing. So that was something he approached us about. I don't know if my brother-in-law Brian, for those of you who know me from Not Religious, he was my co-host on Not Religious. He may be doing it. I'm not sure yet. But we met with Richie, our friend from church. he'll be playing guitar. Allie's going to play guitar. So it was nice to, see her pick up that guitar and mess around with it last week. So, and we're learning some songs, and that's been fun. Uh, she said she's a little rusty. I thought she did great. And I'm just going to be playing like a cajon, so nothing really crazy, but it was still fun to just sit around in the living room with Allie and play some music and try to learn some of these songs before we get together with Richie again. But yeah, that'll be coming up. So anybody in Sumter later on this year, I'll have some more information on that if anybody wants to come check it out. Um, and recorded some songs at church Sunday, some new videos for the YouTube. So check that out. More information on that later. And yeah, dude. Also, yeah, I forgot to tell you. All right, so okay. A few months ago, a guy that used to play drums at my church before I started playing has a John Bonham styled drum kit. So those of you who are not familiar with who John Bonham was, he was the drummer for Led Zeppelin, right?
Yeah.
Point made right there.
Yes.
That's all I have to say.
He's like the greatest drummer ever, according
Yeah,
to
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
absolutely. John Bonham was amazing. And he had a very signature Ludwig drum set that was clear, like clear acrylic shells. It was, I think the most famous one was orange, but this guy's name is Mike. Mike's a really good dude. Mike has a clear, drum set, clear John Bonham Ludwig kit that we were using for outdoor services last year during COVID. When it was at its height and we were having outdoor services, we used those drums outside, and I fell in love with them. And he finally hit me up one day and he was like, "I'll sell them to you." And I was like,
yes.
I really don't have the money for that right now.
Does he
But
take payment plans?
I said, I don't know. Money's kind of tight right now. We just got the house, and there was a lot of things that it wasn't going to work out. So anyway, I told him, I'll get back with you on that. And he texted me yesterday and was like, "Hey, okay. I need to back up a little bit. I reached back out to him because I was talking with Allie, and she was like, "You need to ask Mike about those drums." And I was like, "All right, I'll shoot him a text and see what he says." Well, then he wasn't selling them anymore. So I think his son was interested in buying them or something. And I was like, "All good, man. I totally get that. No worries, And so I was just kind of like, whatever, and then I started like just looking around for other drum sets that maybe I would want to get in the future once I can get my shed completed. And I get another text from him. He was like, "The drums are yours if you want them." I was like, "What?" Okay. So now I'm in discussions with him about buying them from him. And so I'm really excited about that.
Yeah.
Once I can get the drums or get the shed ready and I can get those drums, dude, possibilities are endless with a clear acrylic kit like that. You can make so many cool videos. You can put lights on the inside of them. You can change out the different colors for the heads, and it's just the possibilities are endless.
So what I'm hearing is I'm friends with the next John Bonham.
Not quite.
What the
But yes, I may be able to own a John Bonham signature drum kit in the future. So very excited about that. Even if it doesn't work out, I had the pleasure of playing those for a few months, and it was amazing. Those drums are just so nice, and they sound so good. They're so crisp and clear, and literally clear because they're just clear acrylic. And I don't know, it's just they're really neat looking, and I'm very excited if I can get those and I can start making some drum videos. I've got tons of ideas. So
nice.
Yeah.
That's good to hear because it sounds like you're really excited and you can really get. I don't know if you're more invested in music afterwards to get them, but I mean it just brand new things like that seem to spawn like brand new ideas and a lot of ideas.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, and I've my drums that I have now. I had a drum set, I had a really nice drum set too. Before I have the drums, before I got the drums that I have now. It was a PV kit. I've brought this up in interviews before with different drummers. It's a PV Radial Pro 1000. It's the drum kit. PV went through a very short period of time where they made and sold drum sets But they're mostly known for making speakers, amplifiers, and things like that. But their drums were amazing, and they don't make them anymore. So now they're rare, and now you've got people that are collectors of those that would love to get their hands on them. So at one time, I had a a drum set that collectors would have paid bukus of money for had I just held on to them.
Right.
And they were a little too much. I like more broken down drum kits instead of big, all the toms, and I'm not into that. So I sold them because I just thought they were too much. And I have the drum set that I have now. It's just a really small, cheap Pacific Drums drum kit that I had painted, and so they're kind of customized a little bit, but they're nothing special, like, for sure. And I was just talking with Allie and up in conversation one day, and I was just like, I really don't like care for those drums. Like, the sound is just not that great. And if I start doing drum covers, I would want something that actually sounded good.
Oh yeah.
So that's whenever, we started talking a little bit more, and she was like, ask Mike about those drums. Get if you love those drums, you need to get them. It's like, okay. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with that.
And Ellie's just a great person because normally somebody would say no, we need. It's like, so I'm so glad that she supports you in everything you do.
And God bless her too, because
Yeah.
like, drums, of all the instruments I could have gotten into, sometimes I really kick myself for wanting to play drums, but I just wanted to be different when I was a kid, because I
Yeah.
had friends that were learning how to play guitar and things like that. And
Yeah.
I was like, I want to be different. I want to do something different. So I got into playing drums, and little did I know, they're so freaking expensive. I mean, guitars are expensive too, but
Oh yeah. Yeah.
there's so many pieces of drums, and they're a hassle to carry around. They're expensive. You have sound guys that like want to put you in a cage all the time because they think they're too loud, when really they're just terrible they're just terrible sound people, and they don't know how to do sound.
Is that why? Okay, so I do have a question. Okay, so I do have a question about that. So when
Yeah.
I went to church with mom and dad back when I was in seventh grade, they
Yeah.
kept the drummer behind like a plexi cage or something. Is that
Yes.
why they're not?
Yeah. So
does
in
the
a
tech not know what to do with them?
so in that sense, I get why the drum cage is necessary. But the problem is, or it's not really a problem. If you know what you're doing and you've got them in a drum cage and you mic them and you like know how to run sound, then they're very, very useful,
Okay.
especially in a setting where you're going to be playing a lot and it's church. We're not like jamming out all the time. It's more reserved, but I mean, still, like, I can play at a very comfortable volume. I don't have to like hold back. But yeah, I mean, that's an ongoing debate with church drummers about, like, should we be in drum cages or not. I think it's necessary in a church setting, but I would love to not be confined to a cage. I would love
Right.
to be able to interact with the rest of the band, and not behind a plexiglass wall. So
Exactly. Yeah, because
yeah,
I've seen like major drummers in like coliseums, and like
yeah,
behind me. I'm like, that's not. You want to be loud. You don't want to. Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
it's a coliseum, dude. Come on.
That's why the sound man is just as much of a member of the band as anybody on stage.
Yes.
If they know what they're doing, they are the most important part, because they're the ones that are going to make the band sound good.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah,
it's not just pushing buttons. I mean, I'm sitting here, point proven. I'm sitting here fiddling with this tiny little mixer, and I'm over here like, okay, does this sound good? And I'm just trying to get it right.
yeah.
But people who have an ear for sound, like Brian, my brother-in-law, he can just knock it out of the park, and it helps that he plays bass too, and he can play keyboards and stuff, so he's familiar with things like that too, and he's familiar with how drums work, so he knows to pick out the difference between your hi-hat, your kick, your snare, your second floor tom, your rack tom, what your overheads left and right, and things like that. So yeah, they're very important.
Everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do have one more question about the drums, and we'll
Yes.
get to our subjects for today. Now, I've seen pictures of the Megadeth drum kit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Basic drum kit, like all like 14 items, right? And
Yeah.
then right above his unit is like 14 symbols just hanging down from like a rack.
Right.
Is that just like showing off, or like is there like a need for that big rack with all the symbols coming down?
It Yes, I think there is a need for certain racks like that. That if you do play a lot of symbols, because if you didn't and you had them all on individual stands, you'd run out of space uh,
Oh, good point.
on the
Yes.
platform. Yeah, so you would have all these because the stands of the legs of the stands, there's three legs
Right.
on them. So if you're not careful, those can be like just stacked up and just a mess. And then if you're running cables and stuff like that, it gets bunched up too much, right?
I
So
got you.
yeah, drum racks like that,
Yeah.
um, absolutely. I totally see the need to have these elaborate racks and
Yeah.
stuff with the stands. Chris Adler, a lot of metal drummers use
Adler
racks like
uses
that.
it.
Chris Adler uses a lot of them.
As I know that.
The drummer for Dream Theater,
Yes.
Mike Portnoy used to. I don't know who's drumming for him now. And then
I think
Dragon Force too.
it's Mike Bonjani, my guy, Mike something. I saw
Okay.
like a documentary of them searching for a new drummer.
Yeah.
So yeah. But I did see Nick Menza's rack, and he had
Yeah.
like an extra like row of symbols just hanging from
Yeah.
yeah.
Are
Okay,
you saying
good.
that he has a nice rack?
You
Yes.
know me so well, man. He does have a nice rack.
He's got a
Yes,
nice rack.
got a nice rack. Yeah. So, uh, what is today's subject, sir?
Oh man. Well, today's subject I'm really, really excited about because it's just a fun subgenre of rock and roll music. And it's kind of now become the subgenre of more than just like straight up rock and roll. It's like a subgenre of punk rock as well. And you know how much of a punk rock fan I am. So this is exciting to talk about. Today we're going to talk all about rockabilly, mainly because it's not only a fun subgenre of music, but the style of rockabilly has always just interested me. And like I just want to know how much they spend on hair products to do those pompadours that the guys are rocking.
It's
Um,
it's
but
funny.
yeah, super cool.
It's funny you should mention that because are you like a wrestling fan?
I, when I was a kid, I was, but
Um,
I'll admit I haven't kept up with wrestling in a while.
do you remember seeing Honky Tonk Man?
I don't think so. Mm-mm.
Um, he dressed like Elvis.
Mm,
Seriously. And his theme
that's so
song
cool.
was kind of like a rockabilly
Yeah.
vibe. And they also did it with another wrestler called Billy Gunn, and
Okay.
he was known as the one Billy Gunn, and he came up with the guitar, played it like off and on, and yeah, he had like a rockabilly kind of theme song too. Yeah, so I
Yeah.
guess rockabilly was all the fad, back in the early '90s and '80s, and everything.
Yeah.
Still, yeah,
And we can thank the fans of us, or those of us who are fans of rockabilly now. We can thank iconic people, and we'll get into it. But like Elvis Presley, like we wouldn't have rockabilly had it not been for the stylings of Elvis Presley and several of those guys. That even some Johnny Cash. Like there's that element that has carried over the years into what these guys are playing now, and there's a sound that they cherish from those old recordings that they want to bring back, and
right,
it's really cool. I'm very, very excited to get into that today, because this is a cool subgenre that I've always wanted to tell people that I really liked and just never really got the chance. So like now I'm doing it on a public platform with you. So
yeah. So it's
what
all
better
good.
chance
Yeah.
to do it? But before we do that, do you want to do this day in music?
Yes, yes, sir.
Absolutely. Cool, man. Yeah, and once again, thank you to thisdayinmusic.com for supplying us with that information, so we can bring this to you. So, how's my volume? Am I good?
Yep, you're good. You're good.
Cool. All right. Oh, I'm sorry.
No worries.
I'm gonna cut this back over here, and I'll start that up again.
Okay.
I messed up a lot
I
there.
no, no, that's okay. That's okay. That's why we edit stuff,
That's why
man.
we edit.
That's right.
All right. So yeah, let's do some this day in music. How about that? You good with that, James?
Yes, sir. Let's go.
All right. Awesome. Well, thanks again to thisdayinmusic.com for supplying us with these notes that we can tell you today. But yeah, so today, August 3rd, September's coming up right around the corner. So let's see what happened on this day in music. So in 1962, John Lennon married Cynthia Powell at Liverpool's Mount Pleasant Register office. He then played a gig that night with the Beatles at Liverpool's River Park Ballroom. Can you imagine that? Like, hey, I just got married, but I know we just got married. I got to go. I got a gig. Got to get in, you know. So then in 1963, the Rolling Stones appeared on UK TV show Ready, Steady, Go for the first time, performing their debut single, Come On. The group made a total of 20 appearances on the show between 1963 and 1966. And then in 1965, again with the Rolling Stones, security guards at a Manchester TV studio hosed down 200 Rolling Stones fans as they broke down barriers while waiting for the band to arrive at a performance. Good Lord. In 1966, the Beatles were at number one on the UK singles chart with the double A-sided Yellow Submarine, Eleanor Rigby. The group's 11th number one. Paul McCartney said that he came up with the name Eleanor from actress Eleanor Braun, who had starred with the Beatles in the film Help. Rigby came from the name of a store in Bristol, Bristol Rigby and Evans Limited Wine and Spirit Shippers. In 1967, Keith Moon from the Who, the drummer for the Who, enjoying a wild birthday party, Keith Moon drove his Lincoln into a Holiday Inn swimming pool. As the party had become out of control, the police were called to put an end to the festivities. Moon, ever keen to avoid the boys in blue, snuck outside and got into a Lincoln Continental limousine and then attempted to make a getaway. Unfortunately, in his inebriated state, he released the handbrake and began rolling towards the pool. Moon simply sat back and waited as the car crashed through the fence, around the pool, and into the water. In 1968, Jimi Hendrix, some Jimi Hendrix news here. During a North American tour, the Jimi Hendrix Experience appeared at Singer Bowl, Flushing Meadow Park in New York. Also on the bill was Soft Machine and Big Brother and the Holding Company. In 1969, Johnny Cash started a 4-week run at number one on the U.S. album chart with Johnny Cash at San Quentin. That's an amazing live album. The album was a recording of a live concert given to the inmates of San Quentin State Prison and was the follow-up to Cash's previous live album, the critically acclaimed and commercially successful At Folsom Prison. In 1969, the Rolling Stones started a 4-week run at number one on the U.S. singles chart with Honky Tonk Women, the group's 5th number one U.S. single. The song was written by Mick Jagger and Keith Richards and was inspired by Brazilian gauchos at the ranch where Jagger and Richards were staying in Sao Paulo. In 1971, Diana Ross was number one in the UK singles chart with I'm Still Waiting, the singer's first solo UK number one. The song, which spent 4 weeks at the top of the charts, was released after BBC radio DJ Tony Blackburn featured it heavily in his morning program. In 1975, Joy Division singer Ian Curtis married Deborah Woodruff, whom he met while still in school when he was 19 and she was 18. They remained married until his death when he hung himself in the kitchen of his house in England at the age of 23. Jeez, I had no idea he was so young when he died. In 1980, David Bowie was number one in the UK singles chart with Ashes to Ashes, his second UK number one, taken from the Scary Monsters and Super Creeps album. The song continued the story of Major Tom from Bowie's Space Oddity. The video for Ashes to Ashes was one of the most iconic of the 1980s, costing £250,000. It was, at the time, the most expensive music video ever made. Let's see what else we got here. 2008, Madonna kicked off her 86-date Sticky and Sweet tour at the Millennium Stadium in Wales. It became the highest-grossing tour by a solo artist, breaking the previous record Madonna achieved with her 2006 Confessions tour. Madonna's first venture with Live Nation was estimated to have grossed $280 million. And then in 2019, Taylor Swift released I know we talked about Taylor Swift last time, but in 2019, Taylor Swift released her seventh studio album, Lover, her first album after parting ways with her former label, Big Machine Records. All of the album's 18 tracks charted on the Hot 100, breaking the all-time female record for the most simultaneous entries. Lover topped the charts in Australia, Canada, Mexico, Norway, Sweden, United Kingdom, and several others. It was Swift's sixth number one album on the U.S. Billboard chart. And that was This Day in Music. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and I look forward to those, man. I love like really random music facts that I can bore people with, and I never get tired of those.
Hey, I think you and me are the ultimate fans of like useless knowledge.
Yeah, definitely, without a doubt.
Because I find that very interesting, but like a lot of people is like, I don't know about that. you know.
Yeah, it's and just that's just a taste of what I like torture Allie with all the time. It's just like, hey, did you know? And then proceed to tell her something that really she probably doesn't even give a crap about. But hey, she puts up with it.
There you go. That's the best thing about her. I don't know. There might be a lot more that I don't know about, and that's can be a good thing about her. But I think I finally know the name of your band with Allie.
Okay.
Yes.
Hit me.
It's called Johnny Quash.
Johnny Quash.
Johnny Quash.
Johnny Quash.
Johnny Quash. Yeah, because I was on mute and I left I was like,
sorry.
oh my god. Yeah, so
Johnny Quash.
man, that might be that might be the next trivium or something, the big name, Johnny Quash. But that's all right. It's all right. Yeah, man. So let me talk about the intro of Rockabilly.
Yeah, hit us.
All right. So Rockabilly is a subgenre of rock and roll with roots in the American South during the 1950s. As its name suggests, Rockabilly draws on two primary influences: country music and rock music. Mm-hmm. Which at the time of Rockabilly's emergence, largely referred to rhythm and blues or R&B, music made by Black musicians. The best known examples of Rockabilly music are songs recorded for the Sun Records label. The label's records include the label's roster included Elvis Presley, Carl Perkins, and Jerry Lee Lewis. Some of the three of the most greatest musicians ever, I think.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, those guys, like I said, what we're getting into today, for sure, was started way back when with Elvis, Jerry Lee Lewis, Johnny Cash,
Carl Perkins,
Carl Perkins, and a lot of people don't know this, but Blue Suede Shoes was a Carl Perkins song.
Really?
Before Elvis picked it up and made it more popular. But anyway, I actually have something. I don't know where it's at. I meant to find it before we started recording, but I got this really cool vinyl record for my birthday last year. It's called the $1 Million Quartet. Have you ever heard of that?
I have not.
Okay, so and I believe this was I'm trying to see who. I believe this was Sun Records that did this, but one day, and whatever studio this is at, one day there just happened to be these four guys all at the studio at the same time. You got Elvis, Johnny Cash, Jerry Lee Lewis, and Carl Perkins all at the studio at the same time. And completely on a whim, they recorded this album just freelance, just, on a piano. Elvis just sat around the piano and they sang old gospel songs and stuff like that. Anyway, they recorded it and they made a whole album out of it called the $1 Million Quartet. And it's just really cool, just knowing like the backstory of that and how it was just not planned at all. And everything sounded so good because all those guys were so talented.
Yeah.
I got that for my birthday, or maybe it was Christmas last year. And I can't wait to actually get the new record player that we're planning on getting at some point and just so I can put that on and just listen to it for a while. I mean, I can listen to it on like Spotify and YouTube and stuff like that, but just to hear it like on vinyl, I can't wait to do that.
Yeah, I think for some albums, vinyl is the way that it should be heard.
Yeah, no doubt. No
I
doubt.
think all they had back then was vinyl records.
Right.
They never had a cassette. What was a cassette back in the 50s?
Yeah, and especially with the type of music that we're talking about today, like that, and we're going to get into that. But like the stylizing of rockabilly, yeah, it just sounds good on vinyl, no doubt. Yeah. But yeah, the success of those rockabilly recordings helped pave a path to national stardom for them, as well as other rockabilly artists. Those recordings also helped legitimize rock and roll as a form of popular music among record buyers and the recording industry. Rockabilly also wielded enormous influence over many of the most important figures in rock and roll history, such as Bob Dylan, the Beatles, and the White Stripes. I made mention of this to you before we started recording, but there is a really, really cool documentary that's on Amazon. You can watch it on YouTube as well if you want to. I can't promise there won't be a billion ads that pop up, but I watched it on Amazon Prime. But the really cool documentary about rockabilly, because it's more than just a subgenre of rock and roll. It is a lifestyle for a lot of people. A lot of people that like to kind of wish they grew up in a different time period,
right?
And kind of, they wish they grew up in the 50s with the hot rods and with the type of music that they had and things like that. And it was interesting to learn about, and especially learn about how it kind of started out in America, but it got like really, really, really popular, like in the UK and in China. And I mean, it's just it was cool to see. But yeah, it's called It's a Rockabilly World. I'll share my screen with everybody so we can watch this. If I can pull back up, geez.
It's all right.
Come on, man. Like accidentally closed out of.
Oh no.
Yeah. Accidentally closed out of, I'm trying to pull you back up. All I've got is YouTube up, and I can't. Sometimes this infuriates me. Okay.
Got me back up?
Yeah, I'll get it pulled back up.
Okay,
so yeah, it's a really cool documentary. I'll share my screen so we can watch the trailer for it. And James, I think you might get a kick out of it. So yeah, let's check it out here.
Rockabilly is everywhere.
I love the energy.
Rockabilly has elements of country. Rockabilly has elements of blues.
You don't get any better than black blues. Amp it up a little bit and it's rockabilly. Our music started in the early 1950s.
It's exactly what it sounds like. It's kind of rockin' and it's hillbilly music.
It's fast-paced and it's got a good beat to it.
3 chords and big hair.
That's exactly right.
I had been listening to Chuck Berry and Eddie Cochran.
Marty McFly is a big influence to me.
A lot of people think that rockabilly is about anger or violence or rebellion.
They got pompadours and their old 50s Gretsch guitars.
That's not the real meaning behind rockabilly.
And they're all tatted and they look like they're rebels out of the 50s.
Everything's been downhill since the 50s.
People had such confidence and pride in the way that they carried themselves.
It's about having fun and expressing yourself.
I just don't feel like you can be in a bad mood listening to oldies. It's impossible.
I saw the movie Crybaby when I was maybe 8 or 9 years old. I swear it was like a pivotal moment in my life.
The people I work with have no idea what I do. I don't want them to fire me.
Thank goodness that the Lord forgives what we do on Saturday night, Sunday morning.
It's not just the way you look. It's a way of life. It's the dedication, those people that work hard on their cars, the women that are committed to looking beautiful and to staying to that standard.
It's classic, it's feminine, it's pretty, it's sexy but not vulgar.
I like the old morals of the 50s lifestyle.
My real name? Elvis Presley, no.
Bloody Mary in the morning, and then it's like Jack Daniels and grapefruit juice the rest of the day.
I haven't got no wife, I haven't got no kids. I got a teddy bear. That's the only family I got.
Birthday, Rockabilly Sven.
From Japan to Australia.
I play bass. been out from Belgrade, Serbia.
Sweden and New Zealand, and he's everywhere.
Everything about it is so cool.
It brings that goodness and that happiness, and it's something that we all share together.
The 50s are the best, forget the rest.
Yeah, such a cool documentary, man. And I'll tell you why it kind of holds a special place in my heart as well. So my dad was a big car guy. Like we spent a lot of times going to car shows whenever I was a kid. I grew up going to car shows all the time. At least twice a year, we would find one at the beach or anywhere around and just go check out old hot rods. Whenever I finally get the tattoo I want for my dad, that's what it's going to be. I'm looking for that traditional style of tattoo to get a hot rod for him. And so that's one reason why I'm kind of drawn to this as well. Now I'm not like greasing my hair and all that stuff. I'm not taking it that far, but I do love to listen to rockabilly, psychobilly. We'll get into that too, and kind of distinguishing the differences between those. And then another thing of why I'm into it is because it from the rockabilly subgenre, it created another subgenre of punk rock. Called psychobilly, and then you have a lot of horror punk bands that kind of follow this psychobilly pattern as well with the upright bass, and it's cool, man. It's really fun. We're about to get into the spooky season, and I'm listening to some more horror punk right now, just to get me in the mood for all that because I know it's coming up, and it's just my favorite time of year. So yeah, I thought this would be a cool one to do, but.
Well, for me, after seeing that heavily tattooed guy with the with hair pulled back and everything, really reminded me of Brian Setzer. He was the lead singer for Stray Cats, and then he made the Brian Setzer Orchestra Band.
Yeah,
and that's,
we're gonna get into all that,
and that's a very rockabilly kind of vibe too. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. The Stray Cats did a lot for bringing rockabilly back from the dead, and we'll get into that. We're gonna talk about the history of rockabilly for a minute, the stylizing and kind of what makes it different from everything else and everybody else, and then we'll give you the best examples of like kind of its roots, its resurgence, and then kind of where we're at with that now into the horror punk type of stuff. So anyway. Yeah, so I'll kick off the history here. The history of rockabilly begins in the American South, where black and white music had cross-pollinated for decades before its inception. The various subgenres that fell under the title of hillbilly music were all built on the blues. Country was particularly inspired by the raw country blues of performers like Howlin' Wolf, and jump blues by artists like Roy Brown, whose "Good Rockin' Tonight" became a minor hit for Elvis Presley, actually. In Memphis, Tennessee, radio engineer turned record producer Sam Phillips began recording black musicians in 1950. These R&B and blues recordings by Howlin' Wolf, Junior Parker, and others drew up hopeful white musicians to the Memphis Recording Service, which had also served as home base for Phillips' record label, the Sun Record Company. In 1953, he recorded a cover of Arthur Big Boy Crudup's "That's All Right" by a local teenager named Elvis Presley. The song was a major hit with listeners in Memphis before spreading to other parts of the South and the country at large. By the late 1950s, rockabilly made stars out of performers from all points of the globe and all demographics. Sun Records continued to produce big acts like Sonny Burgess, but then they found competition with fellow Southern recording artists like Gene Vincent, as well as Midwesterners like Bill Haley and Eddie Cochran, and even Southwestern talent like Buddy Holly, and then some black artists like Chuck Berry also benefited from adopting the chugging rockabilly style to their work. Their time in the spotlight proved short-lived. Elvis Presley's induction into the Army in 1960 and his subsequent move to RCA Records, as well as changes in listener tastes, sent many original rockabilly artists into country or gospel. But the undeniable swing of their recordings would have enormous impact on generations to come. And we're going to get into all that. These guys really did pave the way. If you're into this sort of thing, then you know exactly what I mean when I say that Elvis Presley invented the rockabilly sound. Chuck Berry definitely solidified what it sounded like. And it was just, it was especially for this a sign of the times. You're still talking about like segregation and all this stuff is going on, and Elvis Presley did a really good job of kind of opening people's minds to a lot of like closed-minded white people who wanted nothing to do with black music at all, had no interest in it at all, and Elvis Presley just wanted to tap into that because he was into it, and really brought it to a white audience and was like, hey, like this is fun, this is something that we can all unite on. Music is universal. Yes. And we can all love it. And it doesn't matter what color your skin is. You can be into different things. It's okay for a white guy to be into R&B, and it's okay for a black guy to be into rock and roll music. Like it doesn't have to be, and it was just a beautiful thing. So, and it carried over into where we're at now. And I'm very excited to get into the artist today. So
nice. Yeah. Cause Elvis is more like he motivated, you to get out and think outside the box.
Yes, absolutely.
That's what everybody should do today, and in our culture today. Please,
it's time to do that. Stop, stop it.
Cut it out, y'all. Yeah,
just stop.
Yeah. So let's talk about your subgenres and come back. Yes.
Yeah.
So several factors, including the death of Presley in 1977, led to a rockabilly revival in the late 70s that began in Europe. Fans wore 50s style clothing, collected old records, and bought veteran rockabillys overseas to festivals. A host of bands in the 1970s and 1980s drew on rockabilly for their sound, such as Stray Cats, which we mentioned earlier, which scored the 3 top 10 hits, including Rock This Town in the early 80s. Cleveland, Ohio, the Cramps makes rockabilly.
Cramps, man, I love the Cramps.
Cramps, yeah. They mix rockabilly with garage rock and punk and blues into a macabre stew that gives rise to a high energy subgenre called psychobilly, which is what you like.
Yeah.
So the 1990s saw bands that revered like the Reverend Horton Heat and Southern culture like the Skids delivered an amped up brand of rockabilly that helped them stand out during the alternate rock scene.
Yeah.
The success of rockabilly groups led to not only new horror punk fueled rockabilly bands, including Necromantrix and Tiger Army, but as a whole subculture of listeners. Many people involved in rockabilly subculture mix retro greaser style with gothic gear or incorporate pinup books. And I remember, the pinup posters and everything. They use all the jazz, back in the day. But that's crossing over to the video game culture.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Fallout 4 has the best ever soundtrack.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So and throughout the game, you did see pinup girls and like various old school rockabilly stuff.
Yeah, and speaking of video games, my introduction to Reverend Horton Heat was Psychobilly Freakout, the song in Guitar Hero 2, because it was so fun to play.
Yeah.
I had never heard of Reverend Horton Heat before.
Hard gameplay. Hard.
Yeah. But it's such a classic. Had so much fun playing those. Dude, we've got to do a whole episode just on Guitar Hero. We need to do a Guitar Hero and Tony Hawk Pro Skater, like just those two, like how much it influenced people musically.
Tony Hawk has a killer soundtrack too, dude.
Absolutely.
Tony Hawk 1 blew me away. Me away.
Yeah, for sure. Well, you mentioned it in here. We're gonna get into psychobilly, and like then its influence in horror punk, and Necromantics is a wonderful band. We're not going to talk about them today, but we will get into Tiger Army later. And I'm very excited about that because I love that band. They're wonderful. But if you're wondering if you're still not familiar with what psychobilly is, we'll tell you about the characteristics of rockabilly and how you can distinguish it from other types of punk rock music and rock and roll in general. So a typical rockabilly band consisted of 3 to 4 members. He had 2 guitars, 1 electric, 1 acoustic, just to give it that country feel,
Right.
to handle the lead and the rhythm duties, as well as an upright bass. That was the key right there. You had to have a guy that didn't just play a regular bass guitar; he played a upright bass, and to really give it that, that sound that makes it what it is. And then your typical vocalist. However, actually, we'll get that in a second. However, many guitarists like Carl Perkins also doubled as singers. Drumming, though, yeah, you knew it was coming eventually. Drumming was often a secondary consideration. You didn't have to have a drummer in a rockabilly band, because of that distinguished sound that the upright bass gave. It played a rhythm, so you didn't need a drummer, because it could that bass could serve as both the rhythm and the percussion, just based on how distinctive it was. So, but this is what I was excited to talk about too. The sound of those early recordings from Sun Records, they try to mimic that even to this day. The echo, the tape delay, and the reverb were all part of the early record or early recordings of rockabilly music. The echo could be produced by room acoustics, like the domed ceiling of Decca Record Studio in New York. It could also be created by an engineer if they were talented enough, often by sending the signal from one recording device to another to create a split second or a slapback echo. Those of you who are into sound engineering, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Right.
The sound of a rockabilly song was usually upbeat, high energy, take on blues chord progression, taken by a blues chord progression. The lead guitars adopted the heavy twang of country boogie, while upright bass was often played with a slapping technique rather than plucked notes. And then when combined with the slapback echo, the sound had the raw intensity of a live performance. So then you can take your recordings and you can really recreate that in your live performances. I was listening to Krista Makes a Podcast today, and he was talking to the singer of Story of the Year, and they were talking about their song Until the Day I Die.
Yeah.
And a great song. But he talked about how John Feldman from Goldfinger produced that record, and how such an amazing producer that he is, but he makes it sound too clean sometimes, and it freaks bands out because they'll be like, I can't redo that. Like,
Right. Oh yeah.
He's so good at producing music that the bands get worried that they won't be able to recreate that live. They're like, we don't sound that good. But but rockabilly has the you can take the liberties where if it's got a delay in it and you don't need a click track, by all means, dude, it's okay. They want to recreate that. So, but some rockabilly vocalists like Elvis Presley and Gene Vincent favored the deep, overheated sound of R&B and blues singers. Others, such as the eccentric Charlie Feathers, added vocal tricks and ticks from hiccups to croons. Kind of saw that in the trailer we just watched. The one guy that was like an Elvis impersonator.
Right, yeah.
That kind of thing. God, I hope everybody's watching on the YouTube right now. See
I know, right? Yeah.
They
Facebook, yeah. It's great, y'all. Everybody head on over to YouTube.com.
Head on to the YouTube just to see me. Many women vocalists, including Brenda Lee and Wanda Jackson, held their own against their male counterparts. They surely did, especially Wanda Jackson. What a BA of a woman, for sure. But I should have gathered some notes on her, but she's a really interesting lady. Anyway, so James, why don't we talk about some of the notable artists of the rockabilly scene? I'm gonna let you have the pleasure here of telling us about not only the most famous rockabilly artists out there, but probably one of the most one of the most known and famous music artists in general.
I'll tell you something right now. Okay.
Yeah.
If my mom could have married this guy, I would be, the son of this guy right here. Really.
Could have been.
Could have been. What might could have been wasn't though. Yeah. Oh, okay. So Elvis Aaron Presley, man, that guy, great guy. He was born January 8th, 1935, and died August 16th, 1977. I think that he died 2 days before my sister was born.
Really?
Before. My sister was August 14th. He died on.
Oh, really?
Yeah, my bad.
Wow.
So also simply known as Elvis, which is quite standard. It was an American singer and actor. Dubbed the king of rock and roll, he is regarded as one of the most significant cultural icons of the 20th century. He has energized his energized interpretations of songs and sexually provocative performances, combined with singularly potent music mix of influences across color lines during a transformative era and in race relations. I can't talk today for some reason.
You're good.
It led them to both great success and major controversy. Now, I will tell you, okay, so the sexual content that they're talking about back then was not nearly today's standards, right?
Oh no.
What they were talking about back then was swaying the hips.
So that was the big thing. He went on oh geez, I can't remember the name of the show. He went on a show. Gosh, why can I not remember? Anyway,
the Johnny Carson one, right? Or something like that.
It was something like that.
I can't remember
Johnny Carson. Yeah. It was Ed something. God, I can't remember. Anyway, he goes on the show. It was his debut performance, I believe.
Right.
And he gets out there and they show him from the waist down and he's swinging his hips around and it was
just girls are going wild.
Pandemonium, man. They freaked out. And apparently he learned it all from Forrest Gump. Forrest Gump taught him something and he took it and ran with it. And thanks, Forrest. But he was met with pretty big controversy right off the rip there. Gosh, what a icon. You said it best, man. He is one of the most significant cultural icons
if not the only significant one.
Everyone knows who Elvis is. Everyone knows who Elvis is.
So Elvis Presley's first recordings took place at Sun Records, like you said earlier, a small independent label run by record producer Sam Phillips in Memphis, Tennessee. For several years, Phillips had began recording and releasing performances by blues and country musicians in the area. He also ran a service allowing anyone to come in off the streets and for a modest fee, record themselves on a 2-song vanity record. One young man came to record himself as a surprise for his mother. He claims it was Elvis Presley. So I guess that's how he got this big break. Yeah. And then amazing how opportunity just speaks to someone and like the world
to give his mom a good present.
Yeah. Why not, right?
Yeah.
Well, I think he did buy a pink Cadillac. So that's another big gift.
So the legend goes.
Yeah, right. Right. We can't ask his mom, so.
Yeah.
Okay, so Presley's version of That's All Right, Mama, melodic country, a genre associated with white culture, and rhythm and blues, a genre associated with black culture.
You got your chocolate in my peanut butter.
Put them together, greatest thing ever.
Yeah.
That is pretty good. Chocolate and peanut butter. Oh my God.
Oh God, I love it. Yeah.
I know, right? Yeah. So the resulting track was denied airplay on both country stations and R&B stations for being too black and too white, respectively.
Yeah,
it's odd. Country DJs told Phillips they would be run out of town for playing it.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. Like you could get run out of town just for playing some Elvis Presley.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So when the song was finally played by a rogue DJ, Dewey Phillips, thank you, Dewey.
Thanks, Dewey.
Presley's recording created so much excitement, and it was described as having waged war on segregated radio stations.
More power to him, man. That's awesome.
Right.
What a bold move that guy made. He was like, I don't care what you guys think. I'm going to play this. This is awesome.
You know, I've heard a story where I don't know if you're just too good because this guy had he was playing a Vanilla Ice record at his studio one day, and he's like, "Man, I've been playing this song forever." Right? It was Ice Ice Baby. Flipped the record over. He played "Play That Funky Music, White Boy," and that blew up. You know. So
okay.
So you never know, all done by Vanilla Ice. So you never know what a song can do. You know.
Right.
So all of Presley's early singles featured a blues song on one side and a country song on the other. Both sung in the same genre blending style. Presley's son recording featured his voice and rhythm guitar, Bill Black's percussive slap bass, and Scotty Moore on amplified guitar. Slap bass had been a staple for both Western swing and hillbilly boogie since the 1940s. Scotty Moore described his playing style as amalgamation of techniques he has picked up from other guitarists over the years. Presley's unique musical style rocketed him into the spotlight and drew massive followers, and massive they were. Because holy crap, you know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so I think I think I don't know if he's still the most bought artist ever. I don't know about that.
One of them, man. Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah. So nobody was sure what to call Elvis's music. So Elvis was described as the hillbilly cat and the Western swing of bop. Over the next year, Elvis would record 4 more singles for Sun Records. Rockabilly, recorded by artists prior to Elvis, can be described as being in the long-standing country style of rockabilly. Elvis's recordings are described by some as quintessential rockabilly, or their true union of country and R&B, which can be described as the true realization of the rockabilly genre.
Yeah, he kicked it off, man. That was the start. And while his musical style changed over the years, I mean, it was just, sign of the times. He goes off to war, he makes some movies, whatever. He kind of gets away from that. But when Elvis first came out, this was his style. Listening to these guys we're going to talk about moving forward, Stray Cats, Reverend Horton Heat, Tiger Army, all those guys, like those, you can tell that's where they drew their biggest influence from those really early Elvis recordings, Hound Dog, Jailhouse Rock, all that stuff, and then the style. Like, look at the iconic style that Elvis had, and what it did for this subculture. Like it's obvious where we get it from, and for somebody that is just so widely known and was so popular, it kills me that this is still a subculture. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, obviously his musical style changed over the years, and then he did the disco thing for a while, or not really disco. It was just more like 70s, and he's got the white suit, and it's the hair and the sideburns and stuff like that, whatever.
Right. Yeah.
But I mean, like, look, I mean, he was a good looking dude too. Like those, I mean, that's why he was a movie star as well. It's because Elvis looked good, and so he could sing.
Too.
Yeah, I mean, and my aunt was a huge Elvis fan. She had a whole room in her house, nothing but Elvis stuff. And I don't know where any of that stuff is. I'll have to ask my mom after my aunt passed away. I don't know if my mom has any of that stuff, but I would love to see if there was any Elvis stuff that she had left over.
I tell you something funny before we move on. So, as I told you before, my mom was a great Elvis fan, right? She couldn't get enough of him, right?
Right.
But I remember, I can't remember all that was said, but my mom and her sister Aunt Molly argued over who was the best act, best artist. Because
Yeah.
my Aunt Molly loved the Beatles.
Yeah.
And so it was the Beatles versus Elvis, and they wouldn't stop arguing until my dad said, "Hey, well, you go, go in your corner, man." Yeah,
And
so,
you wouldn't have the Beatles without Elvis,
right?
And
Exactly.
they'll tell you that too. They were very heavily influenced by these same artists.
Oh yeah,
for sure. But yeah, so let's move on to the Stray Cats. These are a fun bunch here. Stray Cats are an American rockabilly band formed in 1979 by guitarist and vocalist Brian Setzer, double bassist Lee Rocker, and drummer Slim Jim Phantom in the Long Island town of Massapequa, New York.
Massapequa.
Massapequa?
Yeah.
Sure.
That's it.
The group had, the group had numerous hit singles in the UK, Australia, Canada, and in the US, including Stray Cat Strut, She's Sexy and 17. Oof. Looking at that Cadillac, I Won't Stand in Your Way, Bring It Back Again, and Rock This Town. Oh man, it's bop. Which the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame has listed as one of the songs that shaped rock and roll. Amazing. The group, whose style was based on the sounds of those Sun Records artists and other artists from the 1950s, were heavily influenced by Eddie Cochran, Carl Perkins, Gene Vincent, Bill Haley, and the Comets. Stray Cats quickly developed a large following in the New York music scene, playing at CBGB's. My God, if I could go back in time and just go to one show at CBGB's.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. Max's Kansas City, as well as other venues in the Long Island area. When the Cats heard a rumor that there was a revival of the 1950s Teddy Boy youth subculture in England, the band moved to the UK. They then spearheaded the rockabilly revival by blending the 1950s Sun Studio sound with modern punk musical elements. In terms of visual style, the Stray Cats also blended elements of 1950s rockabilly clothes, as well as wearing some drape jackets, brothel creepers, and Western shirts with their punk clothes, such as tight black zipper trousers and modern versions of the 1950s hairstyle. So the pompadours, the big, a lot of product in their hair to hold it up. So instead of mohawk, they had pompadours. Musical and personal conflicts began to emerge in the ways that the individual members handled their newfound success. Phantom married actress Britt Eklund, while Setzer made guest appearances with stars like Bob Dylan and Stevie Nicks, and became the concert guitarist for Robert Plant's Honey Dripper side project. Interestingly enough, in late 1984, the band added former BMT guitarist and Long Island native Tommy Burns on second guitar and harmony vocals. And after a European and U.S. tour, which ended at the 1984 Louisiana World Expedition, they parted ways. The decision to end the band was Setzer's, and it left the other members aggrieved. In an interview, Setzer pleaded restlessness as his motivation. He said, it's just that I just didn't get that great feeling anymore. I had 5 good years of that, but then I got bored with it. In the last year, I just stopped getting that feeling and that great kick that twisted in my gut. Reflecting in 2012, Setzer said that it was really silly to break up the Stray Cat at the peak of our success. Stray Cats have since reunited periodically for live performances. Setzer is still part of his 1990s swing rival band, the Brian Setzer Orchestra, as he mentioned earlier.
Yes.
Setzer also worked as an executive producer on Drake Bell. Yes, Drake Bell from Drake and Josh. He is in that documentary. He had a rockabilly album, oddly enough.
Oh.
Very weird time. But yes, he had a rockabilly album. He only did one. And it was called Ready, Steady, Go. So that's, at the time of that documentary coming out, that was his newest album. So
Okay.
So Rocker continued recording and touring throughout the 1990s and on to today. His albums include Black Cat Bone and Racing the Devil on Alligator Records, as well as his album Bulletproof. In addition to the Stray Cats, Rocker has recorded and performed with Carl Perkins, George Harrison, Ringo Starr, Willie Nelson, Leon Russell, Scotty Moore, Keith Richards, and numerous others. Rocker and his wife Deborah Drucker have 2 children and have been married since 1989. That's sweet. Slim Jim Phantom still plays the drums in bands like Slim Jim's Phantom Trio, the Jack Tars, 13 Cats, Catmen, and the Head Cat. A lot of cats. Meow. Feline. He is also an active member of the Love, Hope, Strength Foundation, a charitable organization which was co-founded by Mike Peters of The Alarm, and it raises funds for cancer units. The band was then inducted into the Long Island Music Hall of Fame on October 15th of 2006. Man, I love the Stray Cats. That was another one of those songs on Guitar Hero 2. Stray Cats or Rock This Town was on there, and I had so much fun playing it. Yeah, so fun. Stray Cat Strut's another great song.
Yeah, that was I mean, I remember listening to a Brian, like one of Brian's sister orchestra band, and just falling in love with it. I haven't listened to him in quite a long time though. Yeah.
And it makes you happy. And I remember, I think there was, I can't confirm this. I'll have to watch it tonight to make sure. But there was a movie on, it was a Disney Channel original movie a long time ago called Alley Cat Strike. And it's very rockabilly influenced. Like those guys dressed like they grew up in the 1950s and they're really into bowling. And I haven't seen the movie in forever, but it seems like they either played some Stray Cats music in there, or maybe the Stray Cats made an appearance. But yeah, it was. Oh, okay. I'm getting them mixed up. There was because I did just see this movie the other day. Mom's Got a Date with the Vampire, another Disney Channel original movie. There is some kind of rockabilly band. I'll have to look it up. I'll do that when you're talking about Reverend Horton Heat. I'll see what the band was. But another great Disney Channel like original movie from my childhood that I loved that was like Halloween themed. Mom's Got a Date with a Vampire.
Oh no!
But there was a rockabilly band that was in that, and I just thought it was so cool. But yeah, so Stray Cats, man, they were awesome. I would love to, if they ever reunite and get together again for another show, I'd love to get the chance to see them live. I bet it'd just be so fun.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
So we're gonna talk about Reverend Horton Heat.
Yeah.
Great band. So the Reverend Horton Heat is the stage name of American musician Jim Heath, born November 2nd, 1959, as well as the name of his Dallas, Texas-based psychobilly trio. Heath is a singer, songwriter, and guitarist. A Prick magazine reviewer called Heath the godfather of modern rockabilly and psychobilly. Okay, which makes sense, right? So the group formed in 1986, playing the first gig in Dallas's Deep Ellum neighborhood. Its current members are Jim, Reverend Horton, Heath on guitar and lead vocalist, and Jimbo Wallace on the upright bass. Just 2 people, okay. The band signed to Victory Roads on 27th of November 2012 and released its 12th studio album, Whole New Life, on December 4th, 2018. The band described itself as rock and roll that influenced by 1950s country, surf, punk, big band, swing, and rockabilly standards. The band mixes these influences into a loud, energetic song with often humorous lyrics, video games, cartoons, and commercials that have been used by the band's songs, giving the Reverend Horton Heat mainstream exposure. And it's true, because like you said before, Horton Heat was on Guitar Hero, I think, and I think was on some rock band games too.
Probably. I mean, that Psychobilly Freakout's a crazy guitar song.
Right.
I remember it was difficult to play, but it was just so fun. And we would always like pick it as a challenge and see who could get the best score playing it.
Right.
And, yeah, that was one of those songs.
Good times.
Yeah.
So his first band was 50s cover group called Chantilly, featuring David McNear, C.A. Flores, David Flores, and Sarah Flores. All right.
Yeah.
Cool. The whole family kind of thing. Yeah. Yeah. However, Heath was more into blues and not really good enough to be in a band that was kicked out.
Oh, poor buddy.
So Heath went to practicing. So within a year, Heath played in a cover band called Southern Comfort with friends from W.B. Ray High School, David McNair, Jeff Nosey, Sam Reed, and Steve Hall, before attending the University of Texas in the fall of 1977. At UT, he often entertained friends and dorm mates and was often found playing in the stairwells at Moore Hill Dormitory late into the night. He left school in the spring to join up with touring cover band by the name of Sweetbriar. 3 years later, formed former doormate David Livingston, now in his senior year of school and his home visiting family, saw a familiar face on stage and reunited with Heath. So Livingston told Heath stories about the punk music scene in Austin, Texas, and the acts playing at venues such as Rawls and Club Foot. Once, while at home on another visit, Livingston took Keith to a Dallas rock and roll venue, the Bourgeois, Bioujou. I think that's how you pronounce it, right? Joe. To see an act called The Cramps, one of your favorite bands, right?
The Cramps, man.
Cramps. Yeah. So after the show, a brawl between punks and rockers broke out of the parking lot. While Heath and Livingston escaped any involvement in the scuffle, Heath later claimed to have an epiphany on that evening, saying, "I did not know anything about the Cramps. I thought it would be a punk rock show, and it was, except that they played The Way I Walk by Jack Scott and Surfing Bird. Bird.
Yep.
And I don't realize that the roots rock and rockabilly that I've had grown up with all of a sudden was a crossover to the punk thing. It gave me ideas. So I'll always a fan of the 50s blues and honky tonk. Heath returned the favor by talking Livingston and his wife to see the Blasters in Dallas and at the Hot Club, KLUB Club. Livingston would later manage the band and co-wrote with Heath the song "Liquor, Beer, and Wine." Have you heard that song?
Yeah.
Okay. Is that pretty good? Because I don't think I've heard that one.
Yeah.
Psychobilly Freak Out and later Wiggle Stick. Wiggle Stick. That's so wow. I wonder what kind of hash.
Yeah, I wonder what that's about.
Yeah. We're both featured in video segments on the show Beavis and Butthead. Long live Beavis and Butthead, right? I think they're coming back. You know?
Yeah, I think so. I think there's a revival in the works.
Yeah, so the song "I Can't Surf" was part of the soundtrack of the video game Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3.
Yeah.
3. So published in 2001, Psychobilly Freak Out was used on a commercial for real American motorcycles and slightly altered version that was featured on the game Guitar Hero 2.
There you go.
And later on Guitar Hero Smash Hits. Their song "Baddest of the Bad" is featured on the soundtrack to Tony Hawk's Proving Ground.
Yes, not as great of a video game, but still.
I stopped playing Tony Hawk after 3. It just
really? I kept going, man.
Really?
I went all the way till Project 8, and that was where I take that back. I tried to play Proving Ground, and I could not get into it. Project 8 was the last I shouldn't say it was the last good one because I wasn't totally impressed with Project 8.
Right.
Um,
Which one
I
was the
liked
one?
them. Do what?
Which one was the one that they give you like a board to stand on and you had to balance on the board? That was one of the
That
games.
was Tony Hawk Ride.
Did you play it?
It was like no, I never played
Okay.
that one.
That's funny.
I think that was after Proving Ground. I really liked American Wasteland. And whenever we finally do a Tony Hawk episode, we'll talk about why I love one of the reasons I loved American Wasteland. A lot of people didn't like the game, but I thought the music was the best of all the games. American Wasteland,
Better than one?
everybody else. Better than one. And here's why.
Really?
They had bands that were current that were doing covers of old punk songs. So had it not been for American Wasteland, I would have never discovered two of my favorite cover songs ever. Census Failed doing Institutionalized by Suicidal Tendencies.
Right.
And My Chemical Romance covering oh my god, Astro Zombies by the Misfits.
Yeah.
So, it was just so fun, and like they had Green Day on there and Thrice and all these great bands, and I loved American Wasteland. But anyway, we'll dive into that more when we get into our talk episode. Yeah.
But in 1997, when I was 17,
there you
go. The video game Redneck Rampage included two of the songs, Wiggle Stick and Nurture My Pig.
Easy. Nurture My Pig.
What?
Nurture My Pig.
It had to be also kind of like, I don't know, some kind of drug kicker. Or, I don't know what some of these names for these songs now. Okay.
He's a strange guy. He is a strange guy.
Yes.
But,
a genius. A genius is always weird, guys.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, always.
But the song Big Red Rocket of Love.
Gee, I wonder what that's about.
That's featured in the video game Motorstorm. Great game. And a slightly altered version of the song was featured in a 1999 TV commercial for Mazda Miata.
Mazda Miata.
What?
Yeah.
I'm okay.
Mazda Miata, man. They This right here, I guess big old red rocket of love is very fitting for.
Yes, because that's a red car, right?
Hey, yeah.
Mitral. I can't believe I read that wrong.
Anyway,
the song "Pride of San
Jacinto."
San Jacinto, thank you, is featured on the video game Hot Wheels Turbo Racing. Nice. The song "Let Me Teach You How to Eat" was featured in I can't even talk to you right now. The 2017 Subway commercial. Let me teach you how to eat. That's like a very.
Gee, I wonder what that's about.
It's a song. It's like
very wholesome music.
It was very a very white of a horn dog. Would you say so?
I would say so.
Yes.
And he's a reverend, so.
Oh yeah. Wow, that's a whole lot about him, right?
Anyway. Well, cool.
That's Reverend Horton Heat.
That's Reverend Horton Heat, man. Psychobilly freak out. But this next band, oh my gosh. I don't know if you're familiar with Tiger Army at all.
I might have heard of them.
Okay. Well, I was introduced to them on a 2005, I think it was 2005 Warped Tour compilation album.
Right.
I only own two of those, so it's either 2005 or 2007. I'm pretty sure it's 2005. Where they were featured on one of those, and it drew me in. It was different sounding. I thought the guy sounded a lot like Davey Havoc from AFI. In fact, I thought it was AFI at first until I noticed that they sounded a little more. You could hear the upright bass kind of chugging along, and I was like, I don't think that's AFI. They didn't really do that, but I got introduced to this band through that compilation album and fell in love, dude. Like I love this band so much. Never seen them live. I would love to. I think they're still touring and got some new music in the works. But Tiger Army is an American psychobilly band based in Los Angeles, California. Oh, I didn't realize we didn't get really get into the psychobilly thing. Okay, so here's what happened with Rockabilly. When you had its resurgence in the 70s, what also was really big at the time, especially in the UK, was punk rock music was making its debut, right?
Right.
So this subculture of rockabilly is starting to get really big in the UK, where punk rock is also kind of blowing up, and they just took the two styles and put them together, and that is what people consider psychobilly. Psychobilly is a subgenre of rockabilly, which is already a subgenre of rock and roll music. So you just kind of have to, and then in a second, we're going to get into another subgenre of that subgenre. This is Tiger Army is more of like a punk rock version of the rockabilly stuff. So psychobilly.
Okay.
Anyway, you still with me?
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
So the group was formed in 1996 in Berkeley, California, and its only constant member is singer, guitarist, and lead singer Nick 13. They do have some horror punk elements in there, although I don't really think that they consider themselves to be a horror punk band. But anyway, the band has released 6 studio albums and 4 EPs. Tiger Army played their first show at the famous 924 Gilman Street. I believe that's where Green Day played their very first show together way back in the
Nice.
day.
Yeah.
In Berkeley, California.
Right.
On March 29th of 1996, the band's sound drew from early punk, rock and roll, and rockabilly, as well as dark English pop. Their first official release was a self-titled vinyl record EP, now referred to as the Temptation EP. The record was released by Chapter 11 Records. This EP caught the attention of Tim Armstrong of Rancid. He was also the co-owner of Hellcat Records. Armstrong then signed the band. So oddly enough, Tim Armstrong's another one of those people with a record label where he's just like, get on my label and I like your music. Let's put out an album. Yeah. Tiger Army recorded their first full length, the self-titled album Tiger Army, in January of 1999. It was released later that October, and then stand-up bassist Joel Day then left Tiger Army before he was signed. So the Quakes stand-up bassist Rob Peltier was then hired to play on the album. Drummer Adam Carson of AFI, who had been helping out the band live, played on the record as well. The band then embarked on a California mini tour promoting the album in 1999. In 2000, Nick 13 asked former AFI bassist Jeff Kresge, one of the former bandmates from Influence 13, to then join Tiger Army. And then ex-Sawin drummer London May came on board as well. Sawin being the side project that Danzig started after he left the Misfits.
Right.
In the spring of 2005, the band headlined a string of 5 sold-out shows at the Hollywood House of Blues. Following year, the band sold out 4 nights of the Anaheim House of Blues. They also hit the road with Morrissey and AFI, and then performed several headlining tours around the world. This is where they really started to blow up. You're going on tours with bands like AFI, which at the time, this is around the time that AFI was Sing the Sorrow was out, so they're already really big off of that. But this is around the time that December Underground was about to come out. So Miss Murderer is about to just blow up everywhere. And if you've got plenty of emo kids coming out to check out AFI because they want to hear Miss Murder, then they're getting exposed to someone like Tiger Army. It works, right?
Right.
So then Tiger Army made several major. By the way, it just hit me which compilation album that was. It was the 2007 Warped Tour compilation album, because I remember Alternative Press had a special Warped Tour edition that they would put out every summer. And I remember you had 2 different editions you could get, of which I still have at my mom's house somewhere. But it was just kind of showing off who was playing the Warped Tour that year. Hayley Williams was on the cover because Paramore was really big at the time. Right alongside other big like emo bands of the time, Fall Out Boy and stuff like that. But the singer of Tiger Army was on the cover of Alternative Press for that Warped Tour lineup. I remember that. 2007. Got it. Bam. Anyway, Tiger Army made major festival appearances across the U.S. and Europe in support of their 4th album titled Music from Regions Beyond. Amazing album. The album was released on June 5th of 2007 and was produced by Jerry Finn. Forever Fades Away, which is a wonderful song, went to number 1 on Los Angeles rock station K-Rock, of which Tiger Army performed later on Jimmy Kimmel Live. And it also at radio festivals like BFT, publications like New York Times, who said Tiger Army's moody new CD, Music from Regions Beyond, was one of the year's best punk albums. And then Spin Magazine covered the band for the first time as well. So really getting a lot of exposure for a subgenre that has not been in the spotlight in a very, very long time. But it's because of those punk roots that and the emo subculture that was also getting really big at the time kind of embraced Tiger Army for a little bit, even though it was very different from the bands that they were touring with, like AFI and whoever.
Right.
Yeah, they definitely got their exposure and they definitely got their name out there. So more power to them. Tiger Army's sixth full-length album, Retro Future, was released on September 13th of 2019 on Lunatone Records / Rise Records, which is interesting because Rise Records is usually like a metalcore album record label, excuse me. So interesting that they would release Tiger Army. But anyway, the following month, the band played 2 sold-out shows at the Wiltern. We're going to talk about the Wiltern in just a little bit too, in Los Angeles for October Flame X. Supporting acts included Brian Fallon, formerly of the Gaslight Anthem, another one of my favorite bands. The Delta Bombers, Wayne Hancock, and 8 Calicas. So
wow.
There's Tiger Army. God, I freaking love that band. But please go check them out. I can't tell people enough about Tiger Army. I rally into them, and Afterworld is definitely like a song that's special to us. It's a great love song, and it's also very emo and moody, so that's cool too. But yeah, great band.
So the next band we're going to talk about is so Blake's heard of them. I have not. So this is a brand new band that I've not heard of yet.
All right. So we're really, really getting into the horror punk psychobilly subgenre. So it's like the next level of evolution of this subgenre that's already an evolution of another one. And there's probably going to be another 6 in the coming decades.
So if this was a movie, this is the final boss.
Yeah, this is the final boss in our psychobilly episode. The final boss.
Yeah, so it's called the Horror Pops.
Yeah,
Horror Pops. So the Horror Pops are a Danish horror punk band that formed in '96. The band's sound is rooted in psychobilly, rockabilly, and punk rock, which Blake here just kindly said to us.
Yes.
So the band founders, Patricia Day and Kim Neckerman, first met when Day's now defunct band, the punk rock group Peanut Pump Gun, I love that, opened for Neckerman's psychobilly band, Necromatrix, at the PopCon. Necromantics. What did I say?
Necromantic. I wish we would have had time to go into them as well because I love that band.
Right.
And there's a lot of really great horror psychobilly punk bands that's kind of come from this time period as well, with Tiger Army and Horror Pops and Necromantics. You got Coffin Cats, Zombie Ghost Train.
I heard it's Coffin Cats. I think that I think Calabrese interviewed some of the
So Davey Calabrese is like friends with these guys. So even though like Calabrese is not a big they're not a psychobilly, rockabilly, punk, horror punk band. They're just straight up horror punk.
Yeah.
They tour a lot with Necromantics, Zombie Ghost Train, Coffin Cats, all those guys. So, yeah.
So, despite both belonging to the subculture scene of Copenhagen, Denmark, the two had never met before, but they became friends over time and their mutual interest in alternative music. The two would eventually marry. Okay, good.
Sweet. Yeah, how about that?
Yeah. So the two both loved Blondie, Depeche Mode, and Susie
and the Banshees, I believe is how you say that.
Thank you, sir. As well as surf, ska, and punk. Okay. They and Necroman decided to form a band where they could experiment with many genres outside of their normal bands. and decided to start by switching instruments. Necroman taught Day how to play the upright bass, while she taught him how to play the guitar. The two began auditioning for drummers with the Necromantics guitarist Peter Sandorf even being a possible choice. They eventually chose, well, help me out here.
Niedermeyer.
Cool. To drum, Niedermeyer to, Niedermeyer to drum, a friend of Days and a member of the band Strawberry Slaughterhouse.
What a cool name.
Yeah. Kind of spooky, kind of, I want some strawberries.
Cute, kind of.
Here,
Yes.
I'll feed you all the strawberries. It's kind of like it's kind of like it, They all float down here and we come inside the slaughterhouse and
you'll float too. You'll float too.
Yeah, that's right.
Allie does a really good impersonation of Georgie from It saying that, so it's very creepy.
Gotta get her on.
Yeah.
So they officially started the Horror Pops in '98. After touring for a while as a trio, the band recruited Niedermeyer's old bandmate Cass the Clash as a second guitarist. What an awesome name.
Yeah, Kaz the Clash. What a cool guy.
So jumping forward a few years later, and the Horror Pops ventured outside of their first U.S. tour as headliners for the Aloha from Hell tour with 9 shows across California and Arizona. They also brought their first U.S. interview to Horror Pops, which happened to be with Vogue. I guess that's Vogue magazine.
Yeah, how about that? Of all the magazines to talk about a horror punk psychobilly band, it was Vogue magazine.
Yeah, which is strange, But later that same year, the band got a great preview of their upcoming show with Rancid and in LA Weekly and a show with Rancid and Tiger Army at the Wiltern, LA. Okay.
Yeah.
So this show brought the Horror Pops out to a long new, like they got noticed by a lot of people. So
a lot
they
of exposure.
Right. They even signed to Hellcat Records, Tim Armstrong's record label in 2003. And like we said before, Tim Armstrong is the lead singer for Rancid, correct?
For Rancid, yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. The band saw their biggest success from 04 to 08, embarking on several big tours with several giant punk acts, including The Offspring, Lars Fredriksson, and the Bastards.
Yes, and he's also from Rancid. He's the other guitarist and vocalist, Lars Fredriksson and the Bastards.
Oh, nice. And they also went on tour with the Pink Spiders and spent many summers on the Vans Warped Tour.
Yeah, dude. I wish I would have had the opportunity to see them.
Yeah.
It would have been so fun. My oldest sister Greta, we've had several conversations about horror punk, and she's just not. And I mean, I get it. She's just not into horror punk. She knows I love the Misfits.
Yeah.
But she's not a big horror punk fan. But she actually really likes the Horror Pops. She said that was the only band of that era that she could really get into. She really liked the Horror Pops, and she was hoping, she knew they were Warped Tour veterans. And whenever I went to my first Warped Tour, it was with my oldest sister Greta, and she was really hoping that they were going to be there.
Yeah.
They weren't there that year, unfortunately. I think they were kind of in their midst of the hiatus at that point.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
Speaking of hiatus, so while the band hasn't released new music since 2008, the band is still active and recently released a live album this year titled Live at the Wiltern.
Yeah,
okay.
See, it keeps coming back up. The Wiltern, man. It's where they kind of got their start. Tiger Army as well. And, now they're
so I guess the Wiltern is kind of like the CBGBs, maybe?
It must be. Yeah, it must be a pretty big deal. I've never heard of the place, but it just kept coming up when I was gathering notes on this. So
nice. So on 23rd of December 2010, Patricia Day filed a lawsuit in
it's funny. Yeah.
Indianapolis Special Court against the Hard Rock Casino, charging infringement of the right of publicity and false endorsement. In her lawsuit, the Horror Pop singer claimed Hard Rock and Mattel has been selling a Barbie doll in her image without her authorization. Oh. So Mattel and Hard Rock have been released a series of hard rock and roll themed Barbies featuring pioneering female musicians such as Debbie Harry of Blondie, Joan Jett, or Cyndi Lauper.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk to you, Siri. Siri's talking to me for some reason. I don't like her right now. Yeah. So in this lawsuit, it is alleged that another doll called the Hard Rock Cafe Barbie doll, or the Rockabilly Barbie, is made in the image of the horror pop's lead singer, but without direct acknowledgement of nor mission or of not non-permission by Patricia Day. So I guess they're still trying to settle that, maybe.
Okay. Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna share my screen with you again.
Okay.
If I can get this to pull up correctly. Jeez,
Okay.
it's doing that thing again.
Don't worry about it.
Keep going. Well,
Well,
you've
that's
already read the book.
yeah.
Sorry.
No,
Give me
no,
just a
no,
second,
no,
'cause
no.
I'll show you.
Good evening, boss. I got you. I got you.
Jeez. Can't get this thing to work right. Okay. All right. So James, I'm going to share the screen with you so you can see what I'm talking about. And if this goes on the YouTube channel, you guys can also see what we're talking about. But this is just for comparison of what she and I mean with like yes, 100%
Oh yeah,
understand where she's coming from.
that's definitely her.
This is on Fun Fashion Law Friday. Let's just trying to blow this image up here. Anyway, yeah. So this is what we got going on here. She definitely like look. She's even got the upright base. It's covered in all these like graphics and things like that. Very similar to how the horror pop. You know.
Okay, yeah. So I've seen her before, but yeah.
So that's the horror pop. So yeah, like with it's very understandable why she would have reached out to Mattel
that's
like, hey, what the crap? That's me. Like, what are you guys doing? Like,
clearly her. I mean,
yeah. Like, who else would you possibly model that off of? But anyway,
I don't know.
Who knows? But yeah, so that's horror punk, man, or not horror punk. That's rockabilly. It's just so fun. It's a fun subgenre. I in preparation for this episode today, I found several playlists on Spotify that brought me back to a lot of bands I hadn't listened to in a while, and it's so fun because it can span so many different decades and even so many different genres, because Elvis would pop up on one, and then horror pops would come up on another one, and it's just fun. It's just it's if you're reminiscent like I am of like the days I spent with my dad at the car shows and like looking at old hot rods, and when I see one, I think about my dad. It was just, well, I really want that tattoo. I want that old traditional American style tattoo that so many people in the psychobilly and rockabilly subgenre like to get tattoos of. It's just it's got a special place in my heart.
Yes.
So it was fun kind of diving into the history of that with you and with our listeners, and maybe we introduce you to some bands you never heard of before.
Yeah, I mean, check them all out because getting music is getting much more easier. You got digital stuff and like Apple Music and Spotify.
Right.
And you got your local record store. Maybe they can carry this or get it for you.
Yeah.
So just ask your local music man if he can get that money for you.
Scratch and spin.
Scratch and spin, yes sir, Miss Eric. Here I come. So it's good stuff. So so we just want to thank y'all for listening to this episode. I think I don't know what episode it is, but it doesn't matter because I mean you're listening to it right now.
Over 100. We can't keep track.
Yes.
Yeah.
We are.
It's been crazy, man. But so many ideas of what to do next too, and guys, stay tuned for our Halloween episodes that we've got planned coming up. Those are going to be a lot of fun. The YouTube channel will be fun for that too. I've got some ideas, James. I'm gonna run across with you for the YouTube channel for some special Halloween, in addition to our episodes that we're putting out weekly, like just some extra content for you guys. just because we're coming up on a really fun time of the year.
Right.
So,
But hey, before we do that, why don't we ask you to please rate and review our podcast as it helps us in the future. And you can find us on all social media, including but not limited to Instagram at When Words Fail Podcast. Facebook is WWF Podcast. Twitter, When Words Fail MS. And you can always contact us and tell us how you like our show or what could we be doing differently at When Words Fail Podcast at gmail.com. Like we said before, if you want to go to our YouTube channel, it's youtube.com/When Words Fail Music Speaks Podcast. And if you don't want to deal with your phone by listening to these amazing podcasts, go to When Words Fail Music Speaks.com. Also, we just released a site full of our merchandise now.
yeah.
So I do have a link for you. You can click the link below the description or go to TEE.pub/LIC/When Words Fail Music Speaks merch. You'll find shirts, masks to wear, laptop bags. I think it's baby clothes or something.
Baby clothes, yeah.
I mean, who doesn't like babies, right?
Yeah, I mean, and if you don't like babies, then I mean that's cool. But
yeah.
if you happen to have offspring of your own, then by all means, give them a When Words Fail Music Speaks shirt.
Well,
they'll enjoy that when they go to daycare or they go back to school or whatever the kids are doing these days.
Yeah.
And tell some people about our show.
Yeah.
Right.
But all of the links will be listed below in the description. So just click away to your intent and just check us out, man. Good times ahead, you know?
Yeah. You can also check out me on the Instagram and the Twitter. It's Blake at Blake_Mosley, Mosley, for my stuff. I'm trying to be more active on Twitter. I'm really, really trying. I think part of the reason why I don't stay as active on Twitter is because it's extra work.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like
right,
I can post something on Instagram and it automatically posts it to Facebook too because they're
linked,
right?
It's not only that you have like multiple like social media accounts. You know, it's like which because I forget about the Twitter one a lot.
Yeah.
Like I need to go back here because I'm more focused on my Instagram page. You know?
And I don't have a lot of thoughts that I can like tweet something. Like mostly if I'm gonna post something, it's the picture of something with a thought.
Yeah. Right.
So, and I've tried connecting my Twitter and my Instagram, but like the picture doesn't come across. It comes across as a link to Instagram instead of the picture itself.
Yeah.
So but you know what? What I'm gonna do is if I'm gonna make a post to Instagram, it's gonna go to my Facebook. But I'm just gonna make a separate post for Twitter because I want to use my Twitter more. I need to utilize it more. And be more active on that. So I'm working on that. But I am more active on my YouTube now. So check out my YouTube, youtube.com/Mosley, MOSELEYYY. Check out some drum playthroughs that I'm doing at church. I've got some audio now featured into the mix. I'm still working on that mix. So bear with me as I kind of figure out what sounds good and what doesn't.
Right.
But just a cool way for you guys to check out what I love to do. I love playing drums and playing at church more than anywhere else right now. So, I just kind of use that as an opportunity to make some videos and get some content out there.
Cool, man.
Yeah, dude.
Yep. So just thank you once again. And always remember, when words fail,
music speaks.
See you guys.
Bye, everybody.